Yo, Publius Cornelius Scipio, nicknamed Africanus, son of Publius and nephew of Neo, both murdered by the Barca in that land called Hispania, was sent with the rank of Imperator to fight the Carthaginians and expel them from the peninsula. I would also take my revenge and make the Barca pay for the blood they shed from my family. I would finish off the three brothers, one after another. They made a mistake. They underestimated me. They took me for a fool, young and inexperienced, and inept, who would lead his men to death. At that young and inexperienced time, I had grown up with stories of Alexander and the wars between major Greek cities and the Persian Colossus. I had read about 1,001 battles and knew the mistakes a general cannot afford on the battlefield. It was the year 543 since the founding of Rome, when I disembarked in the city of Emporium, and then I went with my men to Tarraco to spend the winter and train them properly. I needed my men to perform at their best from the first battle, so my officers imposed a strict training routine that would last several months. At the end of the winter, in the year 544 since the founding of Rome, with my legionaries seasoned in the art of war, we set out for Cartagonova. No one expected it. Evidence of this was that all the Carthaginian armies were far away from the walled city. We advanced at a brisk pace, with the fleet accompanying us at all times along the coast. I knew I couldn't make mistakes in this first phase of the campaign, or Hispania would be doomed, and with it the fate of my beloved republic. I had 16,000 legionnaires, 1,000 riders, 35 ships around, 12,000 infantry, and 2,000 auxiliary riders. According to my sources, I would face only 1,000 professional soldiers and possibly a militia with no military knowledge trying to defend their homes. The numbers were with Rome, but I knew that if the city was as well protected as the maps indicated, the siege was going to be quite tough. The defenses did not disappoint me when they appeared before my eyes. The only apparent way to reach the city was through a strip of land that could well be defended from the walls. The rest of the walls were bathed in water. In the south, the Nostrum Sea protected the city, while a lake in the north prevented a complete attack. The city had plenty of provisions and ammunition, so a siege would take too long to resolve, and it would give Barca time to cut off our supply lines and annihilate my army by starvation or by the sword. Knowing that time was against me, upon my departure from Tarraco, I had ordered my good friend Gaius Lelius, admiral of the fleet, to prepare his ships for a sea assault on the walls. After setting up camp, I ordered a cohort to advance in close formation across the isthmus to probe the enemy's defenses. The Carthaginians, confident in knowing that it was a young man in command, came out to meet my men. The Carthaginians and their opponents fought, but the Carthaginians suffered losses and retreated behind their walls. The situation grew complex as the cohort chased the Carthaginians, with arrows, stones, and various projectiles raining down, decimating the legionaries. I had to order the retreat and begin preparations for a new attack at dawn. At sunrise, the assault commenced by land and sea, utilizing battering rams and ladders. From my position, I could see how the Carthaginians were killing my men from their walls. The ladders left my men exposed when they used them to reach the walls, as they were easy targets for the archers. The advance of the battering ram was slow and tedious. Constant salvos of projectiles fell on the legionnaires who operated it. At sea, the situation was worse, as the waves made it even more challenging for my troops to jump the walls. The legionnaires were better prepared, they were more numerous, but those damn defenses had been very well designed. The legionnaires fought for another hour to breach the defenses, but the Carthaginians repelled all their attempts. My men continued dying and morale waned. I ordered the withdrawal and summoned all officers to the command center. The situation was complicated. The Barcas, with a force of around 60,000 men, would undoubtedly be heading to the city. It had to fall by the following day at the latest, or we would have to retreat in shame to Tarraco. This could have doomed my military career. The meeting lasted until noon, and the conclusion was the same. We had to persist in attacking by land and sea until we breached the defenses, even if only due to our numerical advantage. If we did not manage to take the city the next day, I would order the retreat. Just before mid-afternoon, a fisherman arrived offering his services to conquer the city in exchange for a few coins. He claimed to know a path that led into the city easily. We decided to pay him what he asked for. Blessed be the fisherman and his greed. Apparently, when the tide went down, you could cross the lagoon on foot, so an attack through that area could be feasible. The Carthaginians must not have known that it could be crossed, as those walls were usually undefended. We quickly organized a total attack, without reservation, without an alternative plan, while 500 men headed to the lagoon undetected. At dusk, my men launched repeated attacks on the walls from land and sea, creating a tremendous din. The 500 men crossed the lagoon and scaled the walls. I remember the next few minutes well. They were minutes of anguish, of uncertainty, waiting for the city gates to open from within at any moment. But time passed and nothing happened. The fishermen might have led us into a trap or ambush. My men kept trying to take the walls, but they kept dying and failing. News persisted about the 500 men who crossed the lagoon. But suddenly, alarm cries began to be heard on the walls, clashes of swords inside the city, screams of pain and anguish. And suddenly, the gates opened, allowing my legions to rush into the city and end all Carthaginian resistance. Cartagonova had fallen. The defeat of Carthage on the peninsula had begun. Years later, we recovered Hispania, and I was sent with the rank of consul to Africa, where I defeated Hannibal on his own territory at the Battle of Zama. If you want to know the historical context in which this siege took place, follow the links shown on screen, where you will learn about the events of the Second Punic War in Hispania. This ends the current chapter on Hispania's history. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't hesitate to leave me any questions you may have or any ideas you think could help improve the quality of the videos in the comments. Also, don't hesitate to hit the like button if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you want to see how our story continues.